Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Vision 6 Power Session. One form, multiple emails, setting up advanced autoresponders. My name is Andy, the product trainer here at the Vision 6 office in Brisbane, and I'll be taking you through today's session. So in today's example, we're going to set up an automation that does the following. So let's just say we have a Vision 6 form. It can be a subscribe form or some sort of registration form that people fill out. And depending on what option they choose on the form, a different email gets sent back in response to them, because it's fairly easy to set up an email in Vision 6 through an autoresponder that will send the email out to someone when they fill in the form. But there are a few extra steps involved if you want to make it more advanced, in that a different email goes out depending on what they put on the form. So in our example for XYZ Donuts, we have a little training certification program. And essentially what we're doing is sending out an info pack to the contact when they fill in our form. Now, depending on what they choose, the Diploma of Donutology, the Golden Gatto certification, or a Professor of Pastry will send out a different info pack email to them with the information and PDF files and that kind of thing sort of attached for them and included in that email. So a different one goes out depending on what they choose. Now, of course, this is one particular example, but there are many different examples you could have where you could send out just different information based on what they have chosen on the form. Now, it doesn't just have to be little tick boxes like this. It could be a drop down where they choose, what product am I interested in? Or maybe they want to know the contact details of their local office or representative, and they can sort of pick that from a list, or they just choose what state they live in, and then the email automatically sends out the right information based on what they've put into the form. So it's essentially making it a bit more smart, this automation. Instead of sending the person one email with all the info packs, it's just sending the right one depending on what they've chosen. Now, as you've probably guessed with this particular example at the bottom there, because I've used a checkbox field, the user can select more than one. And I've done that intentionally for this example. So if the user does choose all three or ticks all three in the little checkboxes here and presses submit, they will get 3 emails. If they check 2, they'll get 2 emails and so on. So that's possible as well. You can have more than one email go out at the same time if you want to. If you did want to limit that to just one choice, you of course could use a radio button form field, which I'll show you shortly, or a drop-down form field, and then you can only choose one option in those types of fields. But yeah, the checkbox lets you choose more than one option. So in this case, it would send more than one email if they choose more than one option. So just quickly, before we jump into Vision 6 and set this up, what will we need? Well, of course, the first thing is that you'll need a form with the relevant field. So essentially what this is doing is it's listening for the users subscribing to a form. In other words, they've sort of gone to your website and made an inquiry or filled in a form of some kind. So you need to have that form there, which I'll show you in a moment. Then, of course, you need the emails that you want the system to send. So in my case, I had 3 different emails. They look fairly similar, but if you look closely, this one in the text mentions Professor of Pastry, and the info pack link goes to that particular PDF file. Similarly, this one here, this example is for the Golden Gatto, and it would send a different info pack. And this one here is for the Diploma of Donutology. So I've got sort of 3 separate emails there. Not much looks different about them, but again, you could make them look completely different if you wanted to. So that's part 2. And then part 3, what you'll need to do then, there'll be another asset that we'll need is, of course, an advanced automation in order to do the filtering and sending, which I'll set up for you in a moment. We can watch and see how that's done. Now, just a note there, our advanced automations are only available in some of our plans. So just check that you've got the right plan if you want to have this feature. You can still do this type of thing in a normal automation, so the non-advanced ones, but you can't do the filtering where you only send a certain thing based on what they've chosen on the form. So you would kind of have to send one email to include all the info packs in it if you just used a basic automation. So the beauty about the advanced automation is you can do that filtering to say, only send this email if they've chosen this option on the form, which is what we're doing today. So first, I'm going to jump into Vision 6 here. I've just got that open on another screen, and I'll show you the form. So we'll go into lists and forms. And as you probably know, this is where all of your contact lists for Vision 6 sit. I've got different ones for different purposes. But in this case, what I'm doing is, of course, I would like the user to go to our website, and there's a little page on there where they can become certified in our cooking programs. And I've got a special list just for people who are interested in our certification program or our training series. So I'm going to double click on this list here to go into Forms view. And this is the form. So essentially, as you may know with Vision 6 forms, you can go in and adjust them. So you can change the color of them to match your branding. I've just got some little text here, which I've made bold as well. And you can adjust all the options for centering and colors and things here. Also, in case you're wondering, how did I get the image in there for our logo? Very easy. On the little toolbar here with our font options is a little picture box down the end, or an image. And this allows us to insert a picture onto our form. And that's how I got the logo in there, in case you're wondering. Also, in terms of the fields, on the right-hand side here, this is showing all the fields that I have on my list. So if I did want to ask them for their phone number, I could turn that field on. Of course, you can always move fields around, but I don't really want the phone number field on there. And in terms of making new fields, so say you do have a form in Vision 6 here, but it might just have an email field. It doesn't have any of the other fields that we need. So to make new ones, there's a button here to make new fields. And to make the one at the bottom there, where they could choose what course they're interested in learning about, that was a checkbox field. So if I scroll down a bit further, here is the checkbox field. And if I choose that, I can give it a name. So course type. And I can put the options in here, option 1, option 2, option 3, and you can reorder them as well. Any sort of different things there. So just a normal sort of standard form field. If you wanted to limit the options so that the user can only choose one, you could use a drop down instead. This allows a single selection, or a radio button. Again, similar to a drop down, it's a single selection, but this displays them all on the screen. This one, they've got to click to see the option values. So yeah, got a few options there as to what you would like to have on your form and the way you display the information. Cool, that's step 1 done. Design the form, or in this case, just check the form that all the options are there. Step 2, we now need to go and get our messages ready, because in a moment, we're going to go in and set up our automation. But I normally recommend making your messages first, because when you set up your automation, Vision 6 will ask you to point it to the messages you'd like to send. So it's always a good idea to have them first, otherwise you'll be backtracking a lot in the system. So I'm just in the messages area here, and here you can see I've got my 3 email messages. Let's go in and have a look at one of them. We'll do the Professor of Pastry here at the top. So I'll just edit that one. And you'll notice this is kind of like the screenshot I showed you. We just have a sort of email built in here with some banners, some text, and I am putting in the person's first name to personalize it. That is a field we're capturing on that form, you may remember. So why not put it into the email and into the subject line as well? That will increase the open rate, the engagement rate, and it's less likely to go in the spam folder then as well. So definitely worthwhile putting in the first name if you've got it. And in case you're wondering how I did that, it's the little wildcard field here, and just choose your field, first name, to pop it into your form, or into your email rather. There you go, and that's looking pretty good. And I've got just the name of the certification program in there. And behind this info pack button, I've put in a link to the PDF file that they can then click and download, and then they get the info pack. So yeah, that's all I did there. When I built this email here and saved it, I then went and changed it for Diploma of Donatology. I just adjusted the name, the subject, and the info pack link, and then went to the button and said save as new, and made it for the second email. And then I repeated that process for the third email. So that's a really quick way to just turn one template into multiple. So you just keep saving it as a new message. And I then went in and made sure that they said the right thing. So essentially that's how I got my 3. I started with 1, and then I just cloned them to make the other 2, and changed the bits I needed to change. So that's pretty easy. Cool, that's step 2 done. So we've got our form ready, we've got our emails ready. The next step now is to set up the automation to actually send the relevant email when the person fills in our form. And for that, that's in our automation section. So we'll go into there. Now you've got 2 automation types, advanced here and the normal or basic ones. The basic ones, as I mentioned, come with all accounts. The advanced ones are only available on some account types and plans that we have at Vision 6. So just check that you're on that one. If not, you can always upgrade if you want to use the functionality. So we'll go into there, and we'll make a new automation. I'll give it a name. So this can be called Send Info Packs. And I'll just save it into my training folder here. and save that. Cool. It's ready to go in terms of the setup, but there's no steps in there as yet. So nothing's happening. We've just made an empty one and given it a name. So it's just reminding us that there are no steps in there just yet. So let's go and add the first one. We'll press new. And if you're not familiar with our automation workflow, essentially it's a step-by-step builder, and it just sort of allows you to set up the automation with all the various specifics and things that you'd like to get it to respond to. So let's walk through setting up the first one. The first question is, okay, what is this in relation to? It's going to be trigger against a specific list, because basically in a moment, we're going to set it up so that when someone subscribes to the list, the email goes out. So the trigger is based on a particular list. I'm just going to point it to my certification program list. So that is essentially, if I just open this in a new tab, I'm essentially telling it, I want to listen to something in relation to this list. That's the one I was in where the form was. Cool. All right. I've now told Vision 6 I would like to listen to something occurring on this list. What should I listen out for is the second question. It's going to be the subscribe event. You do have different options here, but essentially I'm telling Vision 6 when someone subscribes to this list, that's when I'd like the action to occur. The next step is, what is the action? I would like to send the contact a message, and I'm going to choose my first one, which is the Diploma of Donatology email. So I'm going to send that email to the contact, and there's a little eye icon where you can preview it. Make sure you've selected the right one. Yep, that's right, Diploma of Donatology. And step 4, when do I want to send it? In most cases, you want to send it immediately. So whenever someone fills in that form within sort of 30 seconds or so, they will get the email that you've selected. Now, if I were to press save right now, it would send this email no matter what the person chooses on the form. So it's kind of a bit of an error there, because at the moment, no matter what they choose, the donatology, the professor of pastry, the golden gâteau, they're going to get the donatology email, which isn't right. So there is one extra step that we need to do. And this is what the advanced automation gives us that the basic one doesn't. It's the filtering option here. So what this filtering does is it says, okay, this action of sending this email will only occur for contacts that meet the following criteria. And in here, you can set what that criteria is. And I'm going to set it so that the training program they've chosen is Diploma of Donatology. I'll tick that on and then save it. And now press save. And that's step 1 done. So basically, when a contact who says they're interested in the Diploma of Donatology subscribes to our list, send them the info pack for donatology email immediately. So this little narration here actually kind of tells you exactly what it's doing. Now, I do need to repeat this for the other 2 info packs that I have, but instead of sort of making a new step and starting it all again, I could save a bit of time and actually copy this step. That's done, but I do need to now go in and change it. So I'll just click through and adjust it. So all of this is still the same. However, the filtering now, I'm going to click and change it to Golden Gâteau, save it, and this time send the Golden Gâteau email and save that. Once again, I will copy that for the third one, go in, this time change it to the last one, which is Professor of Pastry. Choose the Professor of Pastry email as well and save it. That's now done. One thing you can do is just adjust the name of the automation step. I normally like to do that because if you come back a year later and wonder what on earth this is doing, you don't have to go into the detail. You can just quickly see what it's doing. So can your colleagues if they're ever coming in here and having a look to see what's going on. So I'll put in here, send Diploma of Donatology info pack when chosen on subscribe form. Copy that. Go on to the second one, the Golden Gâteau, and the third one, Professor of Pastry. So it just gives me a really quick sort of look at, so I know what's going on. And my colleagues, if they ever come in here, they go, oh yeah, that's what it's doing. I don't need to go into the steps and have a look. I'll just save that one more time. Now, one last thing is at the moment, you'll see it has a red arrow. So it's not running, it's not turned on. The reason we do this is because a lot of people sometimes like to set up automations, or they might do it over a process of hours or days and it's not finished yet. They don't want it to run straight away. So it's not turned on by default, unlike the basic automations, which are. So this one, you'll see if I hover over that, it says deactivated. So if I come down to the right, I can actually go and activate it. That's now on. And if I'd like to test it, all I need to do is go back to my forms, double click, view the form, fill it in, press submit, and I'll get the relevant email. Or if I tick all three, I'll get 3 emails straight away there. Of course, if this form exists on your website, if you have added it to your website, you could go to your website and test it as well. And you'll now get your email. It's pretty much within 30 seconds or so. And that is how to get the system to have one form, but then send multiple emails based on what the user has selected on that form. Thank you very much for joining today's Vision 6 Power Session. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks again and have a great day.